Hi, I'm Miri Malkin. I'm clinical hypnotherapist, mind coach, and I'm here with Gerry. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, I'm Gerry Dragomir, and I'm a sport coach. I'm also an executive coach. And I've coached athletes from 4 years old T-ball players up to Olympians and international medalists. So quite a wide range and quite a wide range of performance levels.
Thanks. And we're here today to talk about safety in the days of Corona or in today, in current uncertain um, state of what we see today. So how do you see it?
Well, it's certainly topical. My hands are clean. I just washed them. And it was just a call to tell me that my email is not working.
As if you didn't know. So back to safety. How do you see safety as a coach?
Yeah, well, I mean, we we all have to do everything that we do safely. I mean, we don't want injuries. We don't want people getting damaged. We don't want them getting lost. We need to behave in a manner that is safe, but at the same time as doing that, we have to push the limits, and that makes things a little challenging. Um, our our basic instinct is to be safe, but when you're trying to perform beyond sort of a normal level, you do have to go to a place that feels unsafe.
So how do you push safety or feeling safe in these days where social distancing is in place and most places are actually closed for practicing, and athletes cannot do what they used to do before? So how can they still practice? How can they still do things and be safe?
You know, definitely right now we're seeing the downside of safety. The inhibition, the complete, almost complete and total inhibition of most athletes, unless you're a chess player. Chess players, they're doing a tournament right now. Those guys have it down because they can do it online. But for most of the rest of us, whose event is physical and not so highly mental, it requires space and equipment, and you can't do that. So right now we're experiencing the real downside of safety. So the trick is to figure out how to work around that. How can you still be safe, but still maintain your whatever it is that you're doing?
Because it's not only physical distancing, right? It has much more than just being physical distance than your athletes or from other people around you.
I could imagine it's a little bit difficult to play tennis.
Right. Although tennis you play from two sides of the
Standing way
court.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as both don't go to the net at the same time, you should be golden.
Right.
Except for, like, I've noticed at the park just outside of my house that the tennis courts are not being used.
No, they are locked.
Okay, the tennis courts are locked.
Yeah.
Because somebody doesn't understand that you don't actually get that close when you're playing tennis.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to teach your girlfriend, and then in which case that's a different story altogether.
Right. But for you, you work with race walkers,
Yep.
and you can still coach them.
It's certainly possible to coach them. I ride a bicycle when I work with them, and staying 6 feet, 8, 10, 12 feet away is not difficult at all, except we have a dictate from our provincial and our national sport organizations that coaches are not allowed to be with their athletes right now. Probably overcompensation on safety, but so even though we can do it safely, we're not allowed to do it safely.
Right. Which cause some challenging to the athletes, right, who want to maintain certain level of fitness, of their own level of whatever they did before, if it's a runner or race walker or even a tennis player who cannot do much today.
Right, but in with the so each sport has its own sort of cachet, its own things that are important about it. With endurance sports, any of the distance sports where you're out training for a very long time by yourself, like 2 to 3 hours by yourself. I mean, we can be good company for ourselves for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And after that, you get tired of yourself. And so having somebody else around just to have a bit of conversation, just to pass the time while you're out there working out, that's a huge part of being able to perform. So, you know, right now, the athletes that I work with are all extremely limited and restricted in what they can do because they can't talk to me. Now, we hadn't thought about like how to use technology to overcome that. They all have earbuds.
Yeah.
They could get out there. I didn't even think of this. I'm thinking of this right now. Okay, they put their earbuds and their phone in, and I can talk to them while they're working out, and I can be in another country.
Yeah.
And we can still have a conversation, and they can carry on. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that.
Good.
See how it works.
And how can you coach them so they get out of the limit of feeling safe, like pushing it a little bit to perform better?
Well, it's each one of us are uniquely different. So there's some people that I work with where I have to get out the crowbar and yank them out of their safe spot so that they can experience performance improvements. Other ones, I have to practically tie them down because they're going to go way above and beyond, and then they end up injuring themselves, or they end up getting disappointed because they can't be at the Olympic level when they're 12 years old.
Right.
So each person requires their own sort of a unique approach.
Mm-hmm.
But each person has to learn what's important to them. I mean, it's the athlete has a role in this as well. And
Definitely.
they
right?
need to
Because
figure out how they set their boundaries and what their values are that drive them, that keep them on that level that is just below optimal performance, because that's where they feel it's safe. Because it really, while I can encourage people to test the limits and push themselves, it's actually the individual that makes the decision that they're going to do that.
Exactly. And now when they can't see their physiotherapist or they can't see any other practitioner to take care of them if they injure themselves or if something happens, they need to be safe, but still some of them want to outperform, want to get better at what they do, even at this time, right? So how do you think it's okay for them to do it?
Well, it's a matter of risk management. So in this case, sort of higher risk activity is probably right now too high risk because part of your safety net's gone.
Right.
You don't have the coaching oversight that you had before, but you can still work on things that are lower risk but still need to be done. So, for example, with my athletes, the biggest risk area is when they do high speed, intense work. That's the most likely case where you're going to have injury. So we switched, and they're now doing low intensity, longer work, which they all need to work on their base. So we've just switched, and now we're working on a different thing. Now, the fact that all the competitions got canceled and everything is canceled actually makes that possible where it wouldn't have been possible at any other time. Like this particular space in time allows us to do something that we never could have attempted before, because right now, in normal times, we'd be getting ready for competition. There are no competitions.
Right.
So we have a huge amount of space to do sort of groundwork and building work, creating sort of, for these guys, a better, bigger, better, stronger engine that will allow them to, once we get back to the, you know, the full program, they'll be able to use that engine, and they'll be in much better condition to be able to move forward and advance.
Which is great.
Well,
Right.
but you have to, and everybody should develop the ability to look at the situation and figure out what's appropriate for this situation.
Right. As you said before, risk management.
Absolutely, yes. Risk management and being able to assess what the resources are that we have to work with, and being resourceful with them.
Yeah. So do you get more questions from your athletes about safety now, about how they can practice safely and how they can maybe use other technique to improve their performance?
Actually, most of the questions are about how am I ever going to get back to where I was?
Right.
and that kind of anxiety. And so by sort of changing modes, not trying to do the same thing in a different context, but doing a different thing in a different context, allows them to know and understand that what we're doing right now, which we never would have had an opportunity to do before, we can use that to build so that when we do come back, it's not we're not starting off, 6 months behind where we were before. We're starting off maybe a couple of months ahead of where we stopped, because we did this other type of work.
Right. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, this is good conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate it. Okay, so just to recap our conversation, here are some of the things we discussed. First, how to perform better while being safe. And the role of the athletes, which is set boundaries and look at their values. Then we have the risk management. And now, performing as higher risk, it might be too risky. Another thing that we said is that you can still work on low risk and build the groundwork to come back stronger when it's safer to return to normal routine. And last thing that we mentioned was to assess the resources from within you and how you can work with them in a safety way. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty complete to me.
So if you found any value in this conversation and you have any question about what we talked about, you can just look at the link, at the information below, and get in touch with us, either with Gerry or myself. You can find our contact information. Thank you so much, and until the next time, bye.